Hey guys, I hope you're having a wonderful day. It's a beautiful and windy day here in Merida. And I want to tell you a quick story about, it's a very deep story for me that I kind of kept to myself for many years. And maybe I told a few people here and there over the period of time until this moment. And I feel like it was time to share it with you. So I'll try to make this quick. And really I want to share this for those who ever doubt yourself, or if you ever feel like you lost your purpose and why you are pursuing your passions per se. And there was a time in my life when I was in the US military as a musician in which that I felt like I was losing my touch with music. And at that time, I had been playing a percussion instrument, playing quarter notes, just a beat, the same thing for thousands of gigs year on year. And it desensitizes you and makes you not want to play music, really, if you're not playing the instrument that you signed up for. And for me, that was bass guitar. And so there was a time, I think it was close to the time I was about to get out of the military, I wanted to buy a upright bass, a double bass, one of those big ones, right? And Clorixolus at the time was popular, and I reached out to this guy who was selling one. And I could not understand this guy on the phone to save my life. So we made an appointment for me to come down to San Diego. I was stationed in Camp Pendleton, North San Diego, and I drove down to South San Diego to meet this man at his house. And as I exited my vehicle, this man came out of his home and started crying when he saw me. And I'm like, oh my God, what did I do? I can't think of anything I did to cause this man to cry. But he just was so emotional. And he saw my haircut, and I had a military haircut. So it was just very obvious I was a Marine. He invited me into his house. He gave me a hug. I don't know this man. And he gave me a hug and brought me into his home. And it was filled with all these portraits and these framed pictures of his friends and people and American flags in frames too, and instruments. It was just a chaotic mess, but an organized mess, right? And he soon told me the story of all these pictures were people that he lost in military wars. His friends, this may be a little graphic, but his friends came back from Vietnam War without their heads and parts of their body, and it just changed their life, and they were young men. And he didn't get to go to be with them, but he was definitely there to receive them as, you know, their bodies were returned back to the States. And not only that, he lost his son, who served in the Air Force in the war in Iraq and Afghanistan. This man was just full of just sadness. It was really depressing. And I really felt for him because I was serving in the military at that time, and I didn't have the chance to go fight overseas. And he told me the story of his family and how he's a blues musician. And he's, you know, he goes to church and he plays at church, and music keeps him together. It's what keeps him living. And so I checked out the bass. It was just in terrible condition. It was horrible. I could not buy it, and I felt so bad to tell him that I can't buy this. So I bought something else that he had, and he said, before you go, I want to play you something. I'm like, okay. All right, I will listen. And so he sat there, he brought his bass guitar out, connected it, and he played our national anthem, the Star Spangled Banner, on his bass. He was not a great musician. There was a lot of mistakes, but something about that, just sitting there with him, doesn't matter if he was good or not. And to this day, I have never experienced a performance like that in my life. To this day, it was the best performance I have ever experienced. And I will never forget it because I understood music wasn't about perfection. It was about a connection. It was a feeling. I felt his whole life was poured into every note he played on his bass and that he sounded. And I could see this song meant something to him. It really meant something, and it meant something to me. It wasn't about being perfect. It was about playing and sharing. And he continued to play. He moved to his piano and started playing songs that we were playing in the military. I didn't think anybody would actually enjoy or like or cared about. And it really mattered to this guy. And at that time, I felt like I lost my connection to wanting to play music or just to pursue any passion. Just have a stable and simple life. And this man's life was very simple. But I just saw the power of music, the power of passion or some art that ties him to the best parts of his memories instead of being, and yes, he was very sad, but he used it as kind of his elixir for life, right? And as I left, I was touched. And some days afterwards, I went to my boss, who was our band officer, and I explained my experience to him. And I just was revitalized. I had a new purpose. Now I understood that every beat I hit on a drum had purpose, meant something to somebody. I may not know who, but it meant something to somebody. And there were many times in my life afterwards that I wanted to quit music. Either I was disappointed in myself or disappointed others. I made mistakes. I felt like I was a failure, or that nobody would listen to my music or would care, or I was inadequate, not good enough. And I think all of us go through that at some point. But I'm so grateful and so thankful for this serendipitous meeting I had with this man. I may have not left with a bass, but I left with a lesson, a purpose. And this day, as I continue through with Symphonic Planet or performing with other artists or filmmaking or whatever that my heart is set to, I never forget this man. And sometimes if you don't feel like you can do it for yourself, and I do feel that, if I'm not doing this music for myself, I know that I'm doing this for this man, for this person who lost pretty much everything that mattered to him, except himself and his passion for music to keep the people that he loved alive in every note he played. There was no ego involved. There was no greed involved. There was no desire for popularity. It was pure, untainted, raw love. He just loved. And I forget that sometimes. I think we all do, and I think it's normal. But, and I'm sorry I don't remember your name, but if you're out there, and maybe you have someone like this too, or an experience like this, but if someone's out there, then do it for them. Because you make people happy. Because you make them feel something. I think music is not, sometimes we treat it like a sport, trying to win a competition. And I think that can be healthy sometimes. But music is a language. It's a component of a language. I think the greater language is emotion. And this is something special to our species, who we are, that we can articulate and express in a very sophisticated manner our emotions, our experiences, our story. And life, almost everything that we do in life is based off a story. There was someone, a very good friend of mine, Corey Radonnet. Later in my career, we were having some margaritas in Hollywood Boulevard, and he asked me the question, Noor, why do you do music? And I couldn't answer him. I was just stuck. I drew a blank. I had no idea. And I wish I had remembered this man to tell him the story. So Corey, if you're watching this, I'm telling you now, I have an answer. But Corey told me, you do this because you make other people happy. Make other people happy. And I see Corey with his band with the Gulch when I visit Maine. And I see it, his performance is incredible. It's so much fun. It makes me happy. And it is good to do things for yourself. But it's also not entirely a bad thing to do things for others and to make others happy. So, that being said, and the many times that if you ever feel like you want to quit, or if you don't feel like you're good enough, or that you can't reach perfection, or you lost touch with something that you love, if you have a memory or an experience like this that you can hold on to remind you what is important, then I think that's a good life. And I think that's a good reason to keep going, even when it's hard. And maybe it's not that thing that you do. Maybe you find another thing so that you can find purpose, but purpose is so important. It's your ikigai. And this is why I keep doing what I do. I see thousands and perhaps maybe millions of people using our Symphonic Planet music. I never knew and never thought if anybody would care about what story I have to tell. And I'm thankful for Jonas being my business partner in Symphonic Planet, to be one of those people who understood this before I did, and who believed in our collaboration of creating something special that can make others feel something. And I want to share that story. I shared this story with you, whoever may be watching, to remind you that there is no purpose greater than love in all of its forms, and sharing that and giving it. Whether if it's for money, for yourself, for your family, or just a gift. Everything you create is a gift to this existence and to this universe. I can't think of any other better reason to live and to keep going. So to you, keep going. Keep going, keep creating, keep sharing, and create those meaningful connections. And I look forward to seeing that. Thank you for listening.